The greatest problem facing the most people in the world today is extreme global poverty. Extreme poverty was defined initially in 1995 by the United Nations as a condition characterized by severe deprivation of basic human needs, including food, safe drinking water, sanitation facilities, health, shelter, education, and information. The measure of the poverty threshold was originally set at earnings less than $1 per day. Adjusted for inflation, this measure in current dollars, according to the World Bank, is $1.90. 10% of the people worldwide live at or below this level. That's 767 million people living in extreme poverty throughout the world. While this number overall has steadily declined over the past 25 years from near 2 billion to current levels today, the sub-Saharan Africa region is worse now than it has ever been. World Health Organization statistics show that children under 5 in these countries are 14 times more likely to die than in developed countries due to this lack of access to basic necessities. National Institute for Health Studies have shown that poor nutrition, really starvation, is the cause of death for nearly half of children under 5 years old in the world. That's 3.1 million children who die each year of a lack of food to eat. The World Food Program, the United Nations arm responsible for addressing this issue, publishes the percentage of undernourishment by country in the form of an annual world hunger map. Most of the countries in darkest red, over 35% without proper food, darkest orange, 25 to 35%, and orange, 15 to 25%, are located in Africa. This doesn't include over half a dozen countries in Africa for which there isn't sufficient data to determine how many children are starving. The bottom line is that Africa is literally starving to death. The UN World Food Program identifies hunger as the world's greatest solvable problem, meaning that although this is a massive worldwide issue, it is absolutely an addressable problem. The WFP also notes that solving for or preventing hunger is actually an economic development solution. Poor health and inability to work due to long-term effects of malnutrition are crippling to a household's economic situation, and also in a macroeconomic sense due to healthcare costs and lost labor. Similarly, preventing hunger actually secures peace and enhances security. As at least one scarce resource like food is resolved, the conflict over such is reduced. Additionally, the radicalization of impoverished individuals by use of food as a motivator promotes instability. The United Nations World Food Program strategy for addressing world hunger is simple and straightforward. First, to provide food to those in short-term need during emergency situations like natural disaster, refugee situations, or unrest. Second, to provide vital teaching resources to help farmers become capable of producing necessary food supplies. Third, supplementing the nutrition of children to assure proper balance of diet and complete nourishment. Fourth, the UNWFP cites the need to empower females in agriculture, noting that cultural barriers due to gender are preventing a substantial supporting element and isolating single women, especially mothers, from the ability to provide food. Lastly, the support of local food markets as a means of nearby distribution and trading among producers is the best means to reduce substantial costs in transportation and bolster local labor markets. Similar to hunger, about 10% of the world's population lacks access to a water supply that is considered suitable for human consumption. The water available to them is often stagnant, containing human or animal feces or chemicals, and capable of quickly spreading disease. Due to this, the second leading cause of child death is the disease and diarrhea caused by consumption of unclean water. Every 1.5 minutes, a child dies because of a water-related illness or disease. Again, very similar to hunger, Africa is a hotspot for the lack of access to clean water. The World Health Organization and UNICEF provide a visual representation of this, noting that most countries in the sub-Saharan Africa have less than 65% of the population with any kind of access to clean water. UN Water notes that the primary driver of sustainable development is access to clean water and water availability for agriculture. Again, like hunger, solving for clean water becomes an economic solution by providing the necessary resource for life and livelihood. Also, like hunger, solving for clean water is a provider of peace and security. To understand how easily addressable the issue of clean water is, the cost of providing a single water well for a village or an area as a part of a larger project is less than $1,000. In the end, extreme global poverty is about awareness and action. Becoming informed and informing others about the issues facing those living on less than $1.90 per day is simple and straightforward. Knowing is only half the battle. Becoming aware must move us to action, to support aid, and aid organizations with funding and participation. Inaction is more than just apathy. We will either be responsible for solving the problems surrounding extreme global poverty, or we will be responsible for the loss of life by not caring enough to do what needs to be done.